Hello, my little fluffers. It's Adam here. Just a bit of a warning for this episode. We have some major audio problems, by which I mean, for some reason, my new PC decided to record me twice. It is on every version of the recording I've got, for whatever reason, it is recording both my microphone and from the webcam that I've got. I don't know why. I haven't got a clue. I have tried to fix it as best I can. There's nothing more I can do with it now. And the choices I had were either bin this episode completely or get it out there and hope for the best. I've decided to do the latter, mostly because I'm about to move house and spare time is not on my agenda at the moment. So I hope it's not too bad, because David and HDE do an amazing job of explaining Battletech to me. So yeah, I just hope it's okay for you guys to hear, because these two guys did an amazing job in explaining Battletech, and for the most part, I just sit back anyhow. So yeah, it is what it is. So we shall see you. Well, I'll see you after I've moved house. I'll see you later. Bye bye.
Keeping a secret is like keeping your virtue. You either feel smugly pious keeping it, or deliciously wicked sharing it with a friend. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fluffenhammer. Roll the music!
Hello, my little chickadees, fluffers, and various tabletoppers from all around the world. Welcome once again to the Fluffenhammer free semi-regular series that we're going to try having a go at doing. This is Tell Adam All About. Now, Tell Adam All... Yeah, it could be a better name. Yeah, it could be. But I really wanted to get down to the bones of what we're trying to do here, where... as a semi-regular piece of content, I'm just going to grab people from all around the nerdsphere to come in to tell me about something that is connected to our hobby of tabletop gaming, about something that I know nothing about. Absolutely nothing about. And so to get us kicked off again, this time around, I should say, I have invited... By invited, of course, I mean I've laid traps and taken people out of their gardens with giant butterfly nets. The biggest, swingiest of D's, it's Big Swingin' D.
Well, it was the most polite kidnapping I've been involved in.
Yeah, well, I'm not a monster. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Oh, I'm in a van. Oh. And speaking of swinging D's, there's another D with us today, for it's HDE.
I can't feel my leg. This bear trap is killing me.
Well, that's because I used an actual bear. That's the problem.
If I pass out due to blood loss halfway through this interview, that's on you, Adam.
I think you'll find it's on the bear. If you look, the bear is holding in one of its claws a lawyer's note that tells you that I am completely free from any problems that may arise from
God
using...
damn these legal bears.
Well, the Care Bears had to do something after the 80s ended.
Do you see what happened after the 80s ended? Grunge happened. You didn't get care a lot anymore. It was all just Seattle as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, the 90s were weird, man.
The 90s were the
So
80s were
much
weird.
neon, so much played.
I was not paying attention through any of that. The 90s just came and went. They were just a blizzard of like bad jobs and worse comics.
How dare you? How dare you say that the 90s had worse comics?
They did. It's objectively true. Do you have any idea how many times I get asked to emulate 90s comic book lettering in work? Do you have any idea?
Is it a lot?
It's a lot. It's a lot. I occasionally have very substantial arguments with usually first-time comic book writers who are saying, no, I absolutely need every single character to have their own unique balloon style. I don't care if the pages read in order.
I've experienced people who are specifically asking you to emulate the image style.
I could not possibly comment, but yes.
Because
It's not, is it? It's Top Cow, isn't it? They're all trying to emulate Top Cow.
Because, I mean, the 90s were not good into Marvel properly through the mutants, and I still have a soft spot for, like, Generation X and the Joe Mad era of Uncanny and stuff like that.
I will fight anyone who has anything bad to say about Gen X. Gen X was brilliant.
But we don't talk about the film.
I do. I love that film. It's shit, it's brilliant.
I joke, but there was some genuinely like eye-popping design going on in comics during the 1990s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dark Child. Witchblade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Those were not the ones I was thinking of, I have to admit.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
I've got to be careful what I say here. I'll get myself into trouble.
Oh, it's all right. The bear's going to get into trouble for you. So, gentlemen, I have called you here today to bring forth information about something I have absolutely no knowledge about. Something that I have never got into, never really even looked at. And when I have looked at it, it's been so fleeting that I have no memories of it.
Well, I can help you there, Adam, because what happens is when a mummy and a daddy love each other very much, what happens is...
Yes.
Oh, that was what you were asking.
Yeah, so I'm going to get you to tell me about Star Wars.
Rubs hand in glee. Right.
To be fair, this, over Christmas, Joseph has kind of got into Star Wars in a big way, so we've ended up watching all the films. No. We've watched all the Mandalorian, we've watched all the Clone Wars. He's really got into it. And it's the first time in my life that I can say I've enjoyed Star Wars.
My goodness, that's a sign of the apocalypse.
Except the first film, New Hope is shit. I don't care what anyone says, it's fucking awful.
I'm glad you said that, because we were straight away in territory of, like, who are you and what have you done with the real Lady Nicole? I mean...
No, New Hope is a terrible film. I do not understand how that ended up being a franchise. And the prequels are great. And I don't care what anyone says. I really enjoyed the prequels.
I don't mind them.
Yeah. But no.
Kind of... Yeah.
We're not going to talk about Star Wars, because that...
thank goodness.
Not today, at least.
Yeah,
I was starting to have dangerous opinions bubble up under the surface there.
Yeah, we're actually just going to talk about sexy Yoda fig pics. Oh, God. Right. Mr. David, what are we talking about?
Yes. We are going to be talking about one of the early sci-fi game franchises that actually predates Warhammer 40,000. And I think it nearly predates Warhammer as well. Not quite, but nearly. And that is Battletech.
Yeah.
The venerable American take on the tabletop gaming market, whereas we had the very British Warhammer. So my first question, Adam, is have you ever played a Mech Warrior game?
I have. A long, long time ago, I played Mech Warrior 2.
Oh. Excellent. Mech Warrior 2 is basically set in one of the most obtuse portions of Battletech universe.
Excellent, just to really make it easy for me.
Yes. Yeah. The refusal war between clans Wolf and Jade Falcon, which is a sentence that will make no sense to anyone who has no understanding of it. However, Mech Warrior 2 is actually really important because that's the game. That game in the early 90s, folks won't realise this, it was everywhere. Mm-hmm. Every video card on the market got packaged with Mech Warrior 2.
Yeah.
It was, for about 3 or 4 years, it was the benchmark, really, for what a video card could play.
Which is how I played it, actually, because it was with my Voodoo GT, I want to say.
Yep. And it was quite revolutionary in terms of what it did, because it was a full 3D, ground-based mech combat game, which at the time Sims were the big deal on PCs. It was a time of X-Wing, TIE Fighter, Wing Commander, Privateer, all that. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Now, Mech 2 came out around the time that the creators of Battletech, FASA, were in the middle of rolling out what they called the Clan Invasion. It was their big reset for games. So basically, if anyone's played a Mech Warrior game, or Mech Assault, if you're an Xbox OG player, or Mech Commander.
Mech Commander, that was my jam.
Yeah, Mech Commander was great. Mech Commander 2, not quite, but still fun. And more recently, we've had Mech Warrior Online and Battletech, the video game from Harebrained Games. Now, any one of those actually does, they're all not necessarily canon, but they are all set in the universe, so they give you a flavour of what's going on.
Okay.
Now, a bit of background. Battletech originated in the early 80s, created by Jordan Wiseman and the team at FASA Entertainment. It originally was called Battle Droids, and then George Lucas's lawyers saw the term droids and hit with their fully operational legal system. And it changed to Battletech. The game itself originated because the team had watched a lot of Japanese anime, things like Macross, Dougram. There's a few others I can't remember. But basically, a lot of the initial mechs that they introduced, they licensed the designs. And they became the initial crop of mechs in the game.
Okay.
And then over time, they did their own designs, and Harmony Gold hit them with their hammer, which recently got shoved up their own ass, thankfully.
See, Harmony Gold I know a lot about.
Oh, yes. Harmony Gold was the reason that a lot of the early mechs became what fans know as unseen.
Yeah.
So they went away, and there's a lot of iconic mechs as well. I think the mech that was on the front of the initial boxes for Warhammer is the Tomahawk from Robotech and Macross. And a lot of other ones as well. Basically, Harmony Gold came in, and because of how the rights for all that stuff got divvied up, it was a mess, and a couple of years back, a judge basically told Harmony Gold to go do one. I think it helped that the Mouse House acquired the international distribution rights for Macross.
Yeah.
So even Harmony Gold, I wanted to take on the Mouse. But when they were creating the setting, basically, the Battletech universe is essentially a fall of Rome situation. So you have the Great Interstellar Empire of what's called the Inner Sphere, and then it collapses. You have several hundred years of ongoing collapse and volcanization, and then you have the invasion of the Hordes into, in this case, the clans. And you have technology, a hub in technology, stuff gets lost. The setting of the game itself, most people start at what they call the intro tech level, which is the year 3025. And that's the end of the first succession war.
So has Battletech got a multitude of time frames in which you can play as?
Oh, yes, there's many eras.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can play in, there's basically the timeline you can play in is more or less about 600 years.
Okay.
And there's different periods within that. But that's actually quite fun because the in-universe timeline actually starts about 200 years ago with the birth of the man whose line will eventually lead the Star League.
Okay.
And also General Motors created the first fusion engine.
Well, of course.
And in the universe are still making battle mechs.
Okay, that's freaking genius.
And in fact, there's an ongoing gag that folks occasionally send GM letters asking where the fusion engine is, and they send back replies. There are people at GM who get the joke. They're in on it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of the most well-known mechs in the setting are made by GM. It's genuinely hilarious.
That's brilliant.
There's a wonderful bit of where you have real world companies still existing and others which are clearly made up. It's Battletech gets very, very silly in places.
Okay.
It can also be very dark and very crunchy.
Well, the question I've got to ask there then is, what is it about Battletech that you guys like? What is it that draws you into it?
Oh man, where do you begin?
Outside of big robot go boom, you know.
Oh, well, that was basically it for me. I don't think there's any more I can say.
I mean, that is a big part of it. Big robot go boom.
I think for me, one of the things that is most appealing about the setting of Battletech is, I don't know if any of your listeners will be aware, but I used to write about anime for some years. I've been a lifelong fan of anime, and the stuff that's always appealed to me was always the giant robot shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the thing that I always found kind of disappointing about giant robot anime, during that time, like, you know, when I was a kid and we had a tiny trickle of anime coming through to the West, we would get things like Macross under the guise of Robotech.
Yeah.
And there would occasionally be other things that would filter through. But we were in that era where the West really liked to get its fingers into anime and mess with it and tried to alter it and distort it into something that was supposedly going to be more palatable to Western audiences.
Yeah.
So they diluted a lot of that stuff anyway. And it doesn't help as well, or it doesn't help when you're a kid and you're sold on the idea of cartoons with incredible giant robots in them, that the content of a lot of those shows is human drama.
Yes.
And I remember I had seen just enough of things like Robotech, and I just wasn't really digging it. And there were other like cartoons that would be on TV at the time, like Transformers, where I always used to like watch that and think, this does not really capitalize on the subject material the way I want.
Mm-hmm.
And then Battletech came along. There's another thing where, just by virtue of where I lived at the time when I became aware of it, you just didn't have easy access to it. It was this thing where the robots were front and center, and the fact that you had pilots taking robots into battle, and it had this whole aspect of like the upkeep of them. There's a granular aspect to how the robots in Battletech actually work, how they're loaded out, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't skimping on any of that.
No, and there's the fact that because of how the settings, technology bases rise and fall, some mechs, not even some mech types, some specific battle mechs are still in use. They're still in use hundreds of years after they were built. Not the model first built, the specific battle mech.
Okay.
It's literally a case where the family line, they have a family battle mech that they've maintained for generations.
Yeah.
And there's a great instance of, in one of Bits of Fluff, where a clan wages quite a big military operation purely because they learn that a specific mech that's in the first single digits of the numbers that came off the production line is on a particular planet, and they want it for their archive. And they wage a planetary invasion to capture it.
Yeah.
This is the universe we're in, where...
Oh yeah, technology and the acquisition of it in Battletech is a big, big deal.
Yeah, I mean, the AdMech have competition in Comstar and the Word of Blake, let's put it that way, for techno weirdos.
Ace AT&T, as I keep seeing it referred to.
Yeah, or as Tech says, pay your phone bill.
Yeah.
Honestly, if anyone's listening to this and think we're only doing this very surface level selling to Adam with this, but if anyone's interested, I highly recommend the Black Hats Leaking and Tex and his Tex Talks Battletech series. Superb. Big Red 40 Tech, also good. Pancreas No Work. Mech Frog. Sven de Planck has got a frankly bonkers ongoing series going into all the wars of the Battletech universe in insane depth. There's so much out there. And it is intimidating. Battletech's intimidating because at one point, and a lot of people don't realise this, before Black Library, if you talked about fictional settings and the amount of books that were published, Star Trek, Star Wars, D&D, and Battletech.
Yeah.
And Battletech at one point had more fiction than Star Wars and D&D combined.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. One thing I do remember is, especially when I had a Saturday job in a bookshop, there was a lot of Battletech books that were on the shelves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking a lot. Granted,
And
it's also how I found out there was a Star Trek Next Generation X-Men crossover novel.
You say that. I remember walking into my local bookshop and finding Battletech novels on the shelves right next to that. So,
Yep.
Yeah, see, my Battletech for me is weird because my first Battletech novel was for Far Country, which is the book that, honestly, every person who knows of Battletech and has read it disavows with good reason. It's the only book in the setting that has aliens.
Okay.
Really weird ones as well.
Yeah, there are no aliens at all. It's purely humanity across the inner sphere. When the clans first appear, people think they might be aliens because of how advanced their tech is compared to the rest of where the sphere is at that point.
And how different their society is as well.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing to mention.
Yeah. So a bit about the setting. Most of Battletech, the inner sphere, is generally organised into noble houses. The factions are all nobilised. So you have Earth at the centre, which generally was originally the Earth, the Terran hegemony, then the Star League, and it's gone through some stuff. Earth and its surroundings, what's become known as the Chaos Marches, generally, it's a mess. Mainly because it's Terran's most developed planets, and people wanted them quite badly. But the other states that have grown up cover massive amounts of space, and there's generally 5 main ones.
Okay.
There's the Federated Sons, ruled by House Davian. They're basically, anglicised kind of good guys, but also there's really no good guys about Battletech at all. Some are more cartoonish than others, but it's a sliding scale depending on the author, to be honest. They love their autocannons. Then you have the Draconis Combine, ruled by House Kurita, who is it's the Samurai Weeb faction, and that's literal. The only reason they have a heavy samurai influence in everything is because one member of House Kurita had a real hard-on for Japanese culture and decided we're gonna be samurais from now on, and their control is so total. Yeah, everything is based. So samurai swords, the helmets, the rituals. They took every stereotype from Japanese law.
Even the mechs take design cues from samurai armor in some instances, don't they?
Yeah. In fact, there's one mech that anytime the mech's offered to the Combine that has a melee weapon, it's normally an axe or a mace, and their warriors insist on having a sword instead, even though the sword is much worse as a melee weapon for a mech than an axe. It's genuinely funny how if they weren't actually really good at what they do, it'd be hilarious how OTT they are.
All right.
But then you have House Steiner, which is they're very Germanic, but they're also very merchant heavy. They're kind of the richest, most industrial powerhouse nation. It's also where the joke of the Steiner Scout Lance comes from, because they can afford to send out 4 100-ton battle mechs as a Scout Lance rather than 4 20 to 30-ton mechs.
Okay.
And they also tend to promote people based on a bank balance and their social connections. So you have a lot of social generals.
Mm-hmm.
But they also tend to throw up the odd military genius from time to time. Then you have the Free World Republic.
Sorry, I'm just stuck on Steiner having a genius. I'm just stuck with Scott Steiner doing the maths. 3% chance.
I mean, that's not a bad analogy in play, because you can imagine a genius of House Steiner doing that, to be honest. Some of them, it's weird. Let's see, what else? So you have the Free World Republic, or the Purple Birds, which is kind of the main, they're ruled by House Marek. And they're kind of the faction that gives the most open gloss of being a democracy when they're really not.
All right.
Because the Mareks rule as Director General of Free Worlds is supposed to be an elected position, but because the state's under a continual state of war. It stayed with House Marek for like 600 years. They did split up once, the entire house, but they're kind of coming back together now. And that just leaves the Capellan Confederation ruled by House Liao, which is the smallest of the main houses.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of crazy in House Liao.
Oh, yeah, baby. But House Liao, well, Capellans, on one hand, Capellans actually have the best level of lifestyle for a citizen. Every citizen is guaranteed an education and housing and food and all that. It's great. Becoming a citizen is a challenge for a lot of people. But also, yes, House Liao has let's be honest, all the houses have a certain amount of inbreeding going on because they're working on a noble system, and a lot of them have intermarried over centuries. House Liao tends to throw up a psycho every generation, and that's not a joke. They've been ruled normally they're not in the direct, or they're not first in line of succession, but somehow a disturbing number of them do end up in direct line as the direct heir to the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of scary how often that happens, and
I got to admit, the thing with House Liao is that whenever I read in the fiction, you read like the psycho antics of like some of their ruling class, and then eventually somebody gets knocked off or like assassinated one way or another, and it's usually by way of some sort of internal plot. When I'm reading that, I do find myself going, "Oh, thank goodness for that."
Yeah. I mean, one of the more recent books has the ruler he's not even directly offed. It's more a case of there's an excuse where they can leave him to die quite and put his daughter in his place, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Deniability.
Is she any better?
She's more competent. That's the thing in Battletech. Competency is kind of it's not even a requisite, but it's welcome when it arrives. But competency often runs into self-interest, logistics, and weirdo eugenicists from beyond the rim, which is the clans. Yeah. So, I mentioned that Star League thing?
Yeah.
So Star League was kind of the big centralising element of the Ionosphere for a while.
I just got to say, I love this development in the fiction. I think it's a genuine stroke of genius.
Oh yeah, it's a wonderful way of, because like I say, Battletech is very much inspired by the fall of Rome. So they wanted an invader kind of faction. So the Star League was this great unified presence in terms of they had the biggest guns, the best tech, and they got the other house on board by saying, if you join, you can have a share. We can do this for hardware.
Now that sounds very familiar. A small town in Gaul, by any chance?
Yeah. Speaking of, Torin Concordat, which is one of the Outer Rim powers. So you have the Inner Sphere, and then you have the Outer Rim powers. Because basically, Inner Sphere is, like it says, it's the sphere of human occupation.
Okay.
And the further out you go, the more spread out. There are nations and polities outside of the Inner Sphere. So you have the Rimworld's Republic, the Torin Concordat, the Marian Hegemony, the Outworlds Alliance. There's loads. And they can get real weird.
Why do I feel that the Outworlds Alliance has a real cassette punk look to them?
Oh, Battletech is fully cassette punk. I mean, drag up a picture of. Hang on, I shall find you a picture of Natasha Kerensky.
Okay.
Oh, these are always value for money.
Yeah. So, anyway, the Star League. Great power. There came a point where it collapsed. Basically, the ruler of the Rimworld's Republic got in tight with the young heir to the Star League, who his father had already died. And on his birthday, when he came of age, this guy, who had become his closest friend, marched into the throne room, opened a jeweled casket, pulled out a bedazzled laser gun, and shot this ruler's head off. So started the Amaris Civil War. Stephen Amaris is a prick. Now, the thing is, Amaris was, let's say, he was ruler from worlds. He was complete control of Terran hegemony and renamed it the Amaris Empire. He didn't account for the leader of the Star League Defense Force and Lord Protector of the Star League, one General, and I've forgotten his first name. It's General Kerensky. Kerensky's a name you'll hear come up a lot. Alexander Kerensky, yeah. Russian, hard bastard. Basically, he led a 10-year military campaign that crushed the Rimworld Republic and fought its way back into the hegemony and basically crushed Damaris' rebellion.
Okay.
At which point, the Great Houses, none of whom had actually joined him. They'd all kind of sat back and watched. They all kind of started eyeing up the remains of the Star League and didn't really want him to... They didn't want Star League back. They liked how things were looking at the moment. They were eyeing up bits of property to...
Oh, man, I'm just
divvy up between
innocent. That is... that's some fantastically 80s into the 90s art. I like that.
Yep. This is a more modern take on her, both in her prime and just before her death at the age of... in her 70s. Yeah.
It's good.
Natasha Kerensky is... her legend is... It shines wide over the Battletech universe. But anyway, Kerensky didn't want to see Venus fall into war again, and his army, who were shockingly loyal to him, they had just gone through 10 years of near continuous warfare. They didn't want to fight again either, so he organised the Exodus. Anyone who wanted could join him, and they would leave the Inner They'd take their mechs, their warships, the entire Star League Defense Force, 90% of it, followed him into the Exodus. They left the Inner Sphere to who knows where.
Okay.
The remainder, so some of the remaining units assimilated into the houses, some became mercenary units, others joined the last member of the Star League's executive left, the head of their communication network, Jerome Blake, who was in charge of maintaining the interstellar communication network that allowed near instantaneous travel between communication between systems. And he formed what became known as Comstar, a neutral faction, quotation marks neutral. And he took in elements of the SLDF, who became the Comguards, Comstar's personal defense force. Comstar gets weird, they become very religious, and they're the reason a lot of the Inner Sphere stays fucky for the next few hundred years, because they don't want any one faction to gain too much of an advantage over another.
Okay.
And they start to treat Blake himself as a religious figure, and
I'm just going to interrupt at this point just to say that I'm relieved that Daffy swore before I did on this podcast. So.
Yeah. Anyway.
And you've got a bear around your leg.
Yeah. Yeah, so Kerensky and his forces head into exile. They arrive at a place they call the Pentagon Worlds, far beyond the Inner Sphere, further than anyone from humanity has travelled before. And this force, which is almost entirely soldiers and their families and everything, they try to establish a new society. Doesn't quite work because they are still from very mixed societies, all of them. And things start to fall apart, and Kerensky's best friend dies, one of his sons dies, his wife has already passed, and then he finally has a heart attack and passes. Overall command of the expedition passes to his eldest son, Nicholas. And Nicholas Kerensky is... All right, so Nicholas grew up on Earth during the occupation by Stefan Amaris. His family were hunted. They were part of the resistance. And at one point, he had quite a nasty virus that no one realised kind of scrambled his noggin. He was very, very insane, but he hid it very, very well. So he was basically declared by the surviving elements of the SLDF High Command. Because he was division commander himself, he was named leader, and he decided to gather a further bunch of loyalists from the people in the Pentagon worlds and go off, try and forge something completely new. And what they formed was the clans. And the clans, oh God, the clans. The clans is a caste-based society. You have warrior, worker, technician, where you have...
That's per clan.
Yeah, and there were 20 to start with. There are a lot less now. Each clan tended to favour what they call true births rather than free births. Free births are children born of, well, born the usual way.
The old-fashioned way.
Yep, true births are what they favour, and that is children born out of iron creches. Artificially, basically, it's almost a cloned society, except that they use the genes of blood. That's the other thing. No one has a surname. There are blood names. To get a blood name, you have to win it.
Okay.
And there's only so many blood names available at any one time. And when a blood name warrior dies, their codex has been entered into the pool for warriors to be cloned. And the mixes that arise from that can be interesting. It's weird as hell. The kids have been raised as a group, and the clans have a very weird. They're a hyper honor focused warrior society. They consider things like relationships, romantic relationships, to be weird. But they, as they put it, they will couple with whoever, whenever, and it's just an act. You know, they don't think any more of it. They don't have an emotional connection to it. It's beyond them. But they also, because they had all the technology that they left with,
Mm-hmm.
they developed it.
Okay.
And they improved on it. And so they went from battle mechs. They eventually created omnimechs, which are mechs which, rather than a battle mech, tends to have fixed hard points. Weapons you can swap things around, but it normally takes a lot of work. Whereas an omnimech it's all
Modular.
it's modular, it's pod based. You can literally they share parts almost universally for a lot of the weapon components and the way they fit. So you can just literally, a mech can go into a bay and be refitted to a completely different configuration in a matter of hours on the battlefield almost, which to the inner sphere mechs is terrifying because you need a full workshop and a strip down to do that sort of thing. So the clans, when they decide to return in Operation Revival, they kind of hit the sphere like a ton of bricks, and it gets real nasty to the extent one small nation that only existed at that point for like 20 years is gone. Although hilariously, that one does lose in part because one particular world decided to, when they were asked to defend their world, they said, "We'll defend in a game of American football." Here's the thing: the clans have something called elementals.
Oh yeah,
Elementals.
They are terrifying.
An elemental suit of armor, effectively, it's power armor. Think Space and power armor, right? That is literally what it is. However, the person inside it has been genetically engineered before birth to be a wall of a human being. We're talking as much as a space marine is post-human, they almost have nothing on them, because the elementals are they're still human at the core. They've not been opened up and had things stuck inside them.
Okay.
It's just the genetics have gone, can we make these bigger,
Right.
and faster, and stronger?
$6 million on them.
But without any bionics. It's
Okay.
all au naturel. And then they put on the suit.
You know,
And
if I could just jump in here, just to mention something, because I'm not sure I'll get a chance to mention
Sorry.
this later. No, it's fine. The thing about the elementals, how you're describing like what they are. There's a short piece of Battletech fiction which is in one of the law books that Catalyst Game Labs have put out. The name of the book escapes me at the moment. It has these short pieces of fiction between each chapter. Battletech Legends, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a book that it basically lays out who the major players are.
Yeah, the two
throughout the
Legends
history.
books are fantastic. Legends and Universe are two brilliant primers.
I didn't know there was a second Legends book.
Yeah, they released as part of the last Kickstarter.
I'll have to go looking for that because I certainly haven't got it. But
I have the files. I can ping you a link to it.
there's an absolutely fantastic short story which prefaces, I think, the Clan Invasion chapter of Battletech Legends, where it lays out who the major players now are, and it depicts. I think it's an exploratory jump ship from the inner sphere. Basically, runs into the clans and they get boarded, and you get like the POV character is describing having the elementals come onto the bridge, and it's just like. I don't know if this is just my reading into that story or whether it is like intentionally author, but there is a real palpable sense of white knuckle fear of this character looking at these things going, "Oh my god, what are they?"
Oh yeah, I mean, power armor was something the Inner Sphere could never make work, but they had actually tried it a couple of times in the years of the Star League and Post and whatnot. The clans nailed it. The elemental actually originated from underwater construction suits, and the version that everyone thinks of as the Inner Sphere called them the Toads.
Yeah,
is frankly it's not something you want to come at because it mounts a disposable 2-shot mech caliber short-range missile launcher over the shoulders. Its arm is mounted with a laser cannon that again is nearly mech grade, so will burn through a human. I mean,
oh yeah,
but
these things can and do take down mechs, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, Battletech is a setting where you have man-portable laser rifles and fletchette guns and splinter guns and needle rifles, all that jazz, as well as ballistics. But when you get to mech scale, it scales quickly into, if you're hit by a mech scale weapon as a man, you're going to be a smear. And a clan elemental can generally survive a hit from all but the heaviest mech grade weaponry.
And we'll then get up and proceed to fuck your mech up, big style. Yeah.
Yeah. Climb it, they can jump on the joints, they can punch. There's a lot of mechs that go down because of an elemental's punched through the cockpit and basically done horrible things to the pilot.
I forget the name of the novel, but it's one of the Clan Invasion trilogy novels. As like early on in the Clan Invasion, there's a scene where a named character encounters an elemental and fights with it. It's the first encounter that. It's the first account of that kind of engagement, and it is absolutely terrifying. Like I think he blows the arm off of this thing, and it's described as just getting up and keeping going.
Yeah, I mean, and the funny thing is, I know I've said that the clans are very weird to us, especially from a psychological point of view. The clans can still be regular people though, because elementals can be huge, but they're not stupid. There's a lot of characters. They've written a lot of elemental characters in the setting who are incredibly nuanced characters.
Yes, yeah.
Over the years, and they've written other characters who should be the same, but they've just been raging nut jobs. Molly and Hazen.
As you guys have been talking, I've been kind of taking what you've been saying. I've been looking it up and reading up on
have you been looking? You've been on Sana, haven't you?
On the Battletech wiki. Yes.
You've just been looking at artist interpretations of Natasha Kaminsky. That's what you've been
I mean,
well, so you mentioned the elementals. What I found here is a picture that I can only describe as a Fallout 3 Gears of War crossover as done by Simon Bisley, or quite possibly Dominion Tank Police as done by 2000 AD.
That's perfect. No notes.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at any art for Battletech, the key thing is that it's 40 years old at this point. We've just had the 40th anniversary, and the art style, the type of art you get for it over the decades has been glorious. Some of it can be.
It's proper up my alleyway. This is like it's not realistic. It's slightly gritty, but also slightly goofy. The art style that Battletech uses is like, that is my jam right there. Thank you very much.
I mean,
I have
let's see.
slightly conflicted thoughts about that kind of thing. I think that the entire product line has had a real glow up.
But the last 6 years, especially 6-7 years. I mean, Piranha Games get a lot of credit for taking on the MechWarrior. The thing about Battletech is the license is weird. So
I think when the lawsuit ruled in Catalyst's favour and they said, you've got the green light now to use these classic mech designs.
Yeah, dismissed with prejudice, I think. So Harmony God were left with not a leg to stand on. They were told, don't pull this shit again, basically.
I think since that happened, I think it seems to me like there's been a real spirit of like, well, we can do what we want to do now, so let's really pull out the stops.
Yeah, I mean, it's helped by, I think, a couple of things have helped. One, the current rights holder for Battletech, the game, Catalyst Game Labs, they've had it since the late 2010s, if I remember, on behalf of Tops, because Tops were the main rights holder, and I think Microsoft now have a big chunk as well because they're buying Activision.
Oh yeah, the actual ownership of the IP is a mess to navigate.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we're not even gotten to the cartoon yet, which I will get to.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask you about the cartoon, because I've never seen the cartoon. I have seen Exo Squad, though, and that was amazing.
Okay, tangent. Battletech, the animated series. In the universe, it's regarded as a lot of the tertiary fiction outside. If anything that's not novels or source book is generally referred to as apocrypha. However, the Battletech animated series, in universe, is treated as a real piece of propaganda that the House Steiner created as anti-clan propaganda. To the extent, the bad guy, Nikolai Malthus from the Battletech cartoon, he tried to take the creators to court. And because he didn't understand the inner legal system, did time in prison for trying to assault the judge and the lawyers.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine this big scary guy with neon glowing tattoos on his face marching into a courtroom and going, "You dare to refuse my patrol?"
Yeah. And then Adam Steiner, the main character, he actually became Archon of Valyrian Commonwealth because he's part of House Steiner, and the previous Archon stood down and he was from another branch of the family. And then he stepped down once the nation was back in, and he kind of rejected his line's claim to the throne going forward because he wanted stability. And he kind of is always embarrassed by the cartoon.
I think a lot of people are embarrassed by the cartoon, to be honest.
Yeah. However, I do love the fact that it's on YouTube for free in HD.
Yes, the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I will say as well, like that Battletech, the animated series, is like it's the subject of a lot of derision. A lot of Battletech fans hold it in very low esteem, and like, debatably, they're right to. But I will admit, I burned through it for research.
Yeah.
The things that I might get a chance to talk about later. I don't know. But I actually remember thinking, like, yeah, this is not great. It's not perfect. It's very much a product of its time.
Yeah.
But it's surprising what a good job they actually do of establishing all the major beats of the Battletech lore.
Absolutely.
In a Saturday morning cartoon show.
Yeah. Some of it was literally, it was tied to a toy line.
Yeah.
And that's the other crazy thing. Battletech had a toy line in the 90s. By the time Black Library started up, Battletech had 40 or 50 novels, I think, at that point, published.
Oh, yeah. The output of novels is ferocious.
Yeah. I mean, they'd gone right through the clan invasion. They'd gone back. They'd looked at other things. Even in the dark years where there wasn't really much coming out, they were still publishing. I mean, I'm a weirdo. I got into Battletech properly when I first read MechWarrior Dark Age book. I'm actually one of the few people who really enjoyed the Dark Age. So I'm a real weirdo.
What was the Dark Age?
I speak to a few people who enjoy that.
So MechWarrior Dark Age was when Tops got the rights. Tops at the time were also the publishers of HeroClix.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do something with their license. So they basically had MechWarrior Dark Age created. It's a clicks-based mech combat game with and it was done through buying blind boxes, all that sort of thing. It was that era where that was a big thing. I actually have pubs full of Clan Jade Falcon and Republic and Northern Highlanders stuff, because that's how I was getting into the franchise, and it was dirt cheap over. So I was just like, give me all the mechs, give me.
Right, if I'd known that this had existed, I probably would have got into Battletech. Battletech, sorry.
Well, that's the thing. Mech Warrior Dark Age was a really interesting game because people who were into Battletech, the people who've been with it for a long time, they did and still do look down on it. But it did get a lot of people into the setting, but it struggled to maintain because I think just because it was also an expensive buy-in compared to HeroClix, where you got like 4 or 5 figures in a box.
I was not really following Battletech at that time, but I do kind of remember that being a time when I was certainly aware of it, and it sort of felt to me a little bit like there was quite a bit of experimenting going on to see like what could be done with the IP.
Yeah. I mean, it was the Battletech tabletop game was alongside it was running what became known as the Word of Black Jihad. So Dark Age is set in 3130, with the idea that post all these wars, this republic has been established in the center of the inner sphere. So the Republic of the Sphere, which is Earth and the surrounding territories, and they've enforced a peace that's lasted a good few decades at this point.
Which is a rare thing in the setting.
Oh, God, yeah. And they've also forced a mass disarmament program. And then suddenly, I think it's called Grey Thursday, the hyperpulse generators that allow interstellar communication across the inner sphere in their entirety, they go down. No interstellar communication. Okay. Unless you have to do it by jump ship, by the Pony Express. And interstellar travel in Battletech is done by jump ships, which basically they teleport from point to point. That's not what causes a problem in travel. The problem is they then have to deploy solar sail and spend anything up to a couple of weeks recharging before they can jump again. Some ships might have batteries that can store enough for a second jump, but then they still have to recharge at some point. So basically everything fractures. Okay. And you have all these factions that spring up around the Republic that, because the Republic had tried to move people around from where they culturally had been to basically enforce amalgamization of people. Done with the best intentions, but suddenly things arise and you get all these proxies for all the different nations arising. Mm-hmm. And the Dark Age basically runs for about 20 years, pretty much. And ends with what we're currently in now, which is the Ilkhan era, where one of the clans has taken Terra, which was their original goal, to take Terra, and has begun re-establishing the Star League. And hyperpolitics is coming back on, and all the nations are kind of in this weird flux position. So there's a lot of new leaders coming into power where the ones who had been leading have either failed or been taken out of power by however means you'd like. And you have some weird Wild West areas where there were big empires that have suddenly now gone almost dead because 2 clans were there and they took away forces to Terra. So it's quite a fun time, to be honest. I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that as well, because you know what fandoms are like, where whatever the new thing is, you've always got like a vocal element online that says, "Oh, this sucks. This is terrible. This isn't my Battletech." I've got a few of the Ilkhan source books, which I don't at the moment get a lot of time to read through any of the books I've got on my shelf, but when I've cracked those open, I've actually really enjoyed the direction they're going in.
I've got all the Ilkhan books today, and the first of the Aces boxes they put out, and the way they've taken things, I think, is very fun. I'm
appreciating the nuance that they're putting into the setting as well, because particularly things with like not to get bogged down into details too much, but there's things like I was reading in the Ilkhan source book, like the direction that one of the specific clans has taken, like Clan Jade Falcon. I think they were all but eradicated at one point prior to this.
Yeah.
And Clan Jade Falcon are known for being, I believe, the most brutal of the clans, like the most merciless. And you see like there's a character in the fiction that comes up through the ranks who's kind of thinking like maybe this isn't the way to do things, and just a simple thing like that I really appreciate in this kind of like military science fiction. I think that's really interesting.
What's been quite nice for the Jade Falcons is, so the big war to take Terra basically decimated them, and they lost. They lost to Clan Wolf. But what they did was, so the Jade Falcons are now pretty much in two elements. You have the element that are on Terra and are reforging themselves into the bodyguard of the Ilkhan, because the Jade Falcons were born from members of what was called, their first Khan was a member of the Royal Black Watch, who were the bodyguards of House Cameron in the Star League. And they came very close to ending the Amaris Civil War before it even started, to the extent that there were members of the Black Watch outside the throne room, almost at the point of kicking the doors in to shoot Amaris down. He nuked their main base, and there were survivors. The survivors fought off, and bear in mind, this was like barely double-digit of battle mechs. They fought off regiments of Stephen Amaris's forces, his elite, and he had to then nuke them, and it still didn't kill all of them. The Black Watch is hilariously hard to kill, and post-Civil War,
that's the bones of the clan right there. They just they take a lick and keep on ticking.
Well, several of them joined the Exodus. Others formed what became the Northwind Highlanders, who, I could be here. I could talk about any one of these factions for hours. I want to make this perfectly clear. I'm trying really hard not to, because I know we're on a time limit. But anyway, that part of the Falcons are on Terra trying to rebuild because they've been decimated and reform themselves into something better than they were, because they've spent decades at this point under the Mongol doctrine. So total warfare, annihilate your enemies completely. So no quarter given, none asked. However, back in the territory they've occupied since the invasion, the clan occupation zone, the Jade Falcon territory, there is one blood-named warrior left, by the name of Jai Chistu.
Yep,
And funnily, the leader of the Jade Falcons on Terra is Stephanie Chistu. Not related, but we have been from the same blood house. He takes it upon, as the last blood-named warrior, and because they've not heard anything from Terra, he declares himself Khan of the surviving Jade Falcons that are there. And he begins rebuilding. And at the same time, he is also trying to make the Falcons better, because he was not a follower of this Mongol doctrine, and neither was Stephanie, funny enough. But at the same time, he's been working methodically to build alliances to show that he could be better than the clan was. He's gone to worlds that were in other territories. He's fought for recruits from other clans, and just trying to keep hold of the core of what the Jade Falcons were, even whilst you have all these other little polities grown up from peoples who didn't want to be Jade Falcon in the first place. They were conquered. So it's real fun. The Jade Falcon occupation zone is the real Wild West for a second of the moment, and it's a delightful area for people to throw a mercenary unit and just run a campaign, and anything can really happen.
So how easy is it then to get something on the table or through the RPG that is entirely yours? Is there...
Oh, this is something I've got thoughts about.
Oh, yeah.
Is it doable, or is it something that it's not frowned upon, but you're kind of meant to play within the tools that you've already been given?
I mean, to my mind, it's positively encouraged.
Okay.
I mean, when I went to my first Battletech event, I painted up a force in a particular mercenary regiment's colours for Cowhounds.
Yeah.
But I went through and I created names, personalities, call signs, and backstories for all the mechs, all the pilots. So I had one who...
This is the part of it I love.
Yeah, so one of my pilots is actually an artist. and she's gathered a minor following because on worlds where she's on, normally she can be off duty. She'll be taking her battle mech out and using the lasers to create artwork wherever there's a blank surface, and they're starting to build up a little cachet on the aftermarket. I've got another. Yeah, you can do stuff like it's fun, but it doesn't impact the great lore. But you can give your character personalities. I mean, I was
something I actually found very encouraging about the game was something that sort of stoked a lot of interest in it for me. Was like, I've got to hold my hands up and say that I have never yet managed to successfully play a game of classic BattleTech on a tabletop. I've got a load of the stuff for it. What it was for me was during the pandemic. Actually, I thought, well, I'm gonna, I've got to fill my time up with something. I wanted to play BattleTech as a tabletop game since I was a kid. But there was just no way of doing it, just by virtue of where I am, the fact that all our shops here are shit, basically. Yeah. So, like, I got a couple of the box sets. So I got a few accessories and things. I've got somebody actually sent me one of the neoprene
nice.
game mats. I've got little bits of that and a few little bits of scenery and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready to do this. Painted up some miniatures, everything, and it just didn't.
I mean, you just can't find something to play with, which is
no. Like there are gaming groups, but every single one I've gone to, it's like you look around, you think, yeah, this is not for me. I've got one hilarious story about one group that I went and checked out, where I went in and asked, "Do you guys play Battletech?" And as I was like, because I'd gone there to sort of see what the place was about, and the hilarious story is, and this is something which I'm sure in the fullness of time will go viral on the internet. There was a group of lads playing a game at a table. They were playing Warhammer or something, and one of them heard me say Battletech, and he jumped up on his seat, and to the tune of Roots by Sepultura, goes, "Plastic mechs!" and then pointed at me and basically said, "Away with you and your anime knockoffs." And the guy running the group just looked at me and he went white as a sheet, and he just sort of took me aside and went, "I'm really sorry." And I just thought, between that and the fact that, to be diplomatic about this, the local gaming groups are kind of the ilk that they are politically. I just thought, yeah, okay, I'm not going to do this.
No.
I've got a couple of close friends who've promised me faithfully that they're going to come around one weekend and we'll get a load of beers and some pizza and we'll actually do it properly. But the thing is, like, that whole thing of tabletop war games, like, it's not something I would say that I'm into personally. It's a bit of a chamois being involved in anything to do with the Fluffenhammer, really. But like, as a social thing that's low pressure, I wouldn't mind doing that. Like, with the right people, yeah, totally, I'm down with it.
I mean, the thing is, BattleTech it can be intimidating. I mean, there's the gag of combat math. Christ, that's a lot of charts.
Yeah,
that's not inaccurate.
What I found encouraging about BattleTech and what sort of made it appealing as something to sort of dip my toes into the pool with is that one of the little bits of knowledge I had about the game is that it does have that outward appearance of being like, oh my God, there's so many charts and numbers and like, oh, you've got to itemize every single rivet of your battle mech.
Yeah,
and
but
like,
it's not.
You don't.
Once you start playing it, because like I've been to a single campaign weekend. Now, it was using a tweaked version of the rules, so we didn't play on hexes. It was playing open boards using
Alpha Strike
tape measures. Yeah. It wasn't Alpha Strike. Funnily enough, it was still using the BattleTech rules, just with no hexes. So everything, all movement was translated and ranges translated to inches. Otherwise, still BattleTech rules. So all the other stuff, But once you started getting it in your head, stuff started to click. And by the end of that day, and the thing, everyone there was lovely because I'd said beforehand, look, I've not played before. Is it all right if I come down? And the guy running it said, absolutely. And everyone that day was brilliant.
BattleTech fans are usually pretty chill.
Yeah.
It's got to be said.
Yeah, and in fairness, there are more BattleTech events cropping up across the UK. There are probably a few more down south, in fairness, that I see come up my feeds, but they are around, but it can be hard to get in. Upside though, BattleTech currently has never been easier to get into.
No.
Because in the 2000s, I did buy a bunch of... I've got metal battle mechs, but I've never painted. I've built a few of them, but they're bits again because I just was like, fuck it. The plastics that we're getting now, they're consistent, they're modern, they're all in scale with each other, which was a big issue with the metals for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the current metals, the new metals they're putting out, match the aesthetic and the scaling, so that's been great, but they're harder to get hold of over here. But Battletech itself, so this is just my opinion. I think it has some of the best entry products of any gaming system. And it gives you options. So, Battletech itself is more like a board game. And there are two key elements that get you into it. There's the starter set, which just has 2 battle mechs, but a bunch of standees, because standees are a big part of Battletech. They have no problem with people using standees for stuff. But it gives you 2 battle mechs in the medium weight class, so 50 tonners, which is the sweet spot for troopers in the setting. And it gives you the basics of how to get your hand around the game.
The starter box is really good. It's a really good product.
Yeah, and then you have what I think are the 2 best products. There's a Game of Armored Combat, and there's Alpha Strike. The box set, not the book. A Game of Armored Combat gives you 8 battle mechs, 2 lances, and that's kind of the most you will ever play a game of Battletech with on one side.
Okay.
Because more than that, given how complex the game can get, that effectively is like playing a 3,000 point game of 40k. In terms of how much you have to keep in mind, because those mechs might go from light up to heavy, but each of those will have its own data sheet, which is quite extensive to keep track of. It's a lot.
Oh, there's a lot to track.
Yeah, if you want to play large scale, go with Alpha Strike, because Alpha Strike gives you 13 mechs. You get 2 lances and a star of clan mechs.
Plus, you get elementals. You get elementals.
You get elementals. You also get fold-out terrain, which is actually really good quality. And there's an expansion pack which gives you extra tiles and terrain, and they're kind of been really good with Alpha Strike, I think, for how they're on the line out. But they are really good entry points, and I think Alpha Strike you can get for under 80 quid, which, given a lance or a star pack, can cost 20 to 35 for 4 to 5 mechs. That's kind of a bargain, really. But every Battletech product they're selling at the moment with a mech in it gives you an Alpha Strike card. So if you're buying for Battletech, you can still play Alpha Strike. If you're buying for Alpha Strike, you can play Battletech because it's exactly the same scale of mechs. It used to be back in the day, the mass combat system had a smaller scale still, but they've ditched that. And I know the core rule books are quite intimidating for folks. They are in the process of working on a new core rule book, but I think they're going to be announcing it at Adepticon properly, because they did some play tests.
I did not know this.
Over Christmas, they were doing play tests of amendments to some of the rules, because Battletech, the fundamentals of Battletech have actually not changed in 40 years. The baseline of how the rules play. But it's gained a lot of chaff over the years. So one of the joys about it is you can plug in different bits, different rule sets to add to it.
Yeah.
To make it more complex, so you can have extra systems and quirks. It can be a lot.
There are quite a few rule expansion.
Yes,
some of onto the main game, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, at one point in the 2000s, they kind of trimmed it down. So you had, what was it? It was the Battletech manual, tactical operations, strategic operations.
Is there a special operations book as well?
There was interstellar operations. There was one more operations book, but basically those took you through every level of scale you could think of. And then you had the Time of War RPG, which was a whole new rule set. Destiny is based on the older Mech Warrior RPG rule set, but they exist alongside each other. So, then in more recent years, they've actually
these are the parts I'm more conversant in.
Yeah, and then they've also, in the last few years, when they've reprinted the operations books, they've been splitting each one in half as well, to kind of make sure you're only buying the stuff you actually want to play with.
There is a really smart development as well, in that if you want if you want to do the thing of having a hardback core rulebook, and you're not fussed about any of the extra stuff. Like if you don't want to play with aircraft, or if you're not fussed about things like infantry or tanks or any of that stuff,
Yeah,
you do have the mech manual.
Yeah, the Battletech manual, which
is just like, okay, here's the stuff you got your basic box set. Okay, this will give you a bit more, but we're still keeping it to the giant robots.
Yeah,
which is really nice, and it's not that intimidating to read either.
No, and I mean CGL are aware that the older books can be a problem to read, and some rules can actually be spread across multiple books, which is not great. But they're working to try and consolidate things. The issue for them is that they're not the rights owner. They're just custodians for top. So they have to get approval for everything. But Battletech has been on a real rise in the last few years. I mean, the 2 Kickstarters did fantastically. I mean, as much as there were problems in fulfillment, stuff has gotten out to people. I think there's just under 80 people worldwide at the moment who are still waiting for some bits to arrive from mercenaries. But as you said, that first Clan Invasion Kickstarter, if that hadn't done so well, all the mech packs that came out in the years between it and mercenaries would not have been released. You'd have had maybe one a year. And instead we've had a quite stellar number of packs come out. And they've been getting better and better into sculpting and whatnot, so
there's a lot of stuff. Is a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask you guys about was Battlefleet Gothic. Jesus Christ, Battletech Gothic. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay.
If you guys have looked at that and what that's all about,
that is such a source of frustration for me.
Well, I don't get it. It's
okay. The idea is that so on the one hand, it's a gag. So one, they've used the BFG initials, and the box serial code is 40,000. Because every Battletech order has a serial code on it, and they've all been under the 40,000 mark, and that one they just put 40,000
with a nudge in a wink. Yeah.
Now,
that's good.
it's the first of what they're calling their alternate universe systems, which are basically supposed to be a done-in-one product. So
this is something, it's important to mention as well, this is something that has never been done in Battletech before.
Yeah.
It's really uncharted territory.
Yeah, they've got, I think they've said that none of these are intended to infringe on production of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even though people are worried that it will do, they've been categorical in saying, no, we're doing these, we've budgeted it separately, we've got a team separate working on it, they're not crossing over with the other team. So, Gothic is the first one. And the idea of Gothic is, it's still Battletech up to a point. And then, in addition to Battlemechs, you also have people get really weird with biotechnology.
Yeah.
And start making weird beasties and doing funky genetic engineering. I mean, I think Clan House Liao, the Confederation, has gone all in, so their leaders now look very serpentine.
Yeah.
I mean, and people ride into battle on giant beasts as well as mechs that have got weird spiky protrusions on to help them fight in melee against these things. I think it's fun, but I get why some folks can be frustrated by it.
I think it looks really cool. I'm really down with it. Like, I mean, I mentioned before, it's a source of frustration for me. It's only because I can't get it anywhere.
Well, the funny thing is, my local independent game shop, Firestorm, they've got 2 copies on the shelf. Last time I was in there, I was like, oh, I wish I could afford that.
I mean, part of the problem for me at the moment is, like, by virtue of the work that I do, there's been a massive downturn in the amount of work available. So, like, my income is in the toilet. So,
yeah,
even if there was a shop in my town that had copies of it, I couldn't afford to go in and buy it. But I really like it as an idea. It's I'm intrigued to see what they do next. I believe one of the alternate settings that they're going to do is said to be a cyberpunk inspired.
Yeah,
thing.
So they've got a cyberpunk inspired one.
There's a steampunk one as well. Apparently.
Steampunk, anime, and they want to do a World War
II
and a World War II diesel punk.
Oh, right. That's my jam right there.
Yeah.
I thought Adam would like that.
And the thing is, whilst it is a one-and-done product, Gothic is actually getting an expansion because they did salvage boxes, so you could buy a box and get a random mech from the box in it. But also, in the box, you don't get any monsters. You only get standees for them.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing a lot of people have had an issue with. And they have announced that at some point this year, it's on the docket. There will be a box of monsters for use.
Oh, yes, get in. Oh.
Which, yeah, that a lot of folks have kind of punched the air about, because people have actually used Gothic, and I've gotten past their, they're trying to get the 40k folks in. It's not. The title, yes, is a bit of fun, but it is its own thing. I got
the impression as soon as they announced it that it was going to be a fully formed, like, independent product.
I mean, they did it with the Lore Primer is out there for free for it, and that's actually really good how they've gone through and if you've read previous Battletech Lore Primers and the like, seeing how they've rewired the setting is actually really fun. And they even did a special. They have a fiction anthology magazine called Shrapnel. That's been running now for about 6 years, Christ. And they did a special Gothic issue of that as well, that was just fiction setting the Gothic setting. Awesome. And it's an additional... The idea that they now have these settings where they can get a bit crazy, they can put some of those weird ideas in, that's fun. I like that.
It is. It's so, do you know, you say that actually touches on the area of Battletech that's of more interest to me, personally. Is the things I know Adam won't mind me mentioning this, but I'm the guy that runs Doom Colonist, which is like adjacent.
Are you?
Apparently, yes. I woke up the other day and I found an email advising me of this, and I was thinking, so that's the thing I've been working on making for the last 5 years. It's like suddenly everything became clear. But I mean, it's not something I've shouted about anywhere. But one of the games that we've actually got on the to-do list to bring to the show, where like a lot of the stream design and pre-production for it and everything is already done, is MechWarrior Destiny. And that's just purely because I just really like the fictional aspect of Battletech. Yeah. I think like whether I ever get to play it as a tabletop war game or not doesn't matter to me.
I mean, I'm kind of, despite the fact that I have far too many battle mechs from the 2 Kickstarters I backed, I almost don't care about playing. I just love the setting. I love getting into head.
It's a cool thing to be into, isn't it?
I mean, I'm the idiot who has a 5 support lance I'm waiting to paint up, which is an archer, a longbow, trebuchet, and a catapult. They're going to be a mercenary 5 support unit called Itano Circus. And no one gets the joke there, because Itano is the guy who created the Macross Missile Massacre.
Yeah, Ichiro Itano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally, someone who got it, even if he didn't laugh.
Well, anime journalist for so many years. This is the thing, though. This is the thing. This is what I find so approachable and so interesting about Battletech. Is just the fact that you've got a very, very rich setting. I mean, you've got... There aren't many intellectual properties out there that are built on 40 years of material. I mean, the ones that come to mind are things like Warhammer 40,000. The one that always springs to my mind is Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like, it doesn't very often get acknowledged that Judge Dredd in 2000 AD is a thing that, like, since 1977 has never been rebooted, has never been relaunched, restarted. Like, not in such a way that it upends the established canon.
Well, one of the things I always love about 2000 AD is that every series, characters age in real time.
Yeah.
A year in the universe is a year in our world. Even if the stories take place over multiple issues, by the end of the year, it's a whole new year. So Dredd, who was already an old man when we first met him, has been on the streets, through our eyes, an additional nearly 50 years at this point.
Wait a minute, you're saying this. Does this mean that it's still okay to have a weird crush on Judge Anderson?
I mean, she's nearing 60, so yes. Yeah.
Let's not talk about it any further.
Joanna Lumley's a beautiful woman. You know, she's in her 70s.
Weirdly, they've actually made a point of saying that Anderson is one of the few judges who can't go through a rejuve cycle, because side judges, it messes with their spare abilities. So Dredd's had like 2 or 3 rejuve cycles.
Mm-hmm. It has,
which reset him to being like 40. It's terrifying that the guy who was supposed to be his successor, Rico, is himself now nearly 30 years old as a character. Hell, the character who followed him Darman, he's turned up again as a much older character. I'm like, shit, he would be that old by now.
Doesn't it show though? Doesn't it mark how interesting it is when like your fiction does that? When it does that thing, like it treats the characters as real people.
I love 2000 AD for that. And so many of the characters do age in real time.
This is the thing with Battletech as well. Like, I mean, you remember what I said about Battletech appealing to me because it was a part of, in my mind as a kid, all those things like giant robot anime and giant robot shows. And the frustrating thing about those shows was that, like, why do we have to spend so much time with the pilots? Why do we have to spend all this time on their drama that we don't care about? And the thing is, in Battletech, you get exactly the same thing in the fiction. You get and debatably to a much larger degree, you have all that Machiavellian politics. Right? You've got all that stuff going on. You've got all this space opera stuff going on, and yet it is really absorbing.
Absolutely. I mean, it helps that. I mean, one of the key guiding lights of the Battletech universe is Mike Stackpole, who wrote X-Wing. He's written far more for Battletech than he has in Star Wars, which will surprise a lot of people. But he was one of the foundational writers for Battletech, and he still does. And if you've read X-Wing, that suddenly makes a lot of sense because it's like, oh yeah, he would be someone who would write mechs really well because he gets pilots. There's so many of the books. I mean, the Grey Death Legion books that kickstarted. They kickstarted the setting off. There was almost nothing, and then the first book. I mean, I can't remember the title.
I reread those recently, actually.
They hold up, don't they? Surprisingly so.
You say that. I actually don't really agree so much. I think they are they're a solid read. I think that the third book particularly is very good. That's where I stopped with my reread. I mean, they are. The only reason I say that I don't agree so much with the idea that they hold up is that they are very much a product of their time. There is some content in there
very true.
And a little bit objectionable. Like I don't like the idea that Laurie Kalmar, who like if Laurie Kalmar, this is basically the love interest for the main character in the Grey Death Legion books. If she were written today, I think she'd be a far more nuanced character than she was when she was written in Decision at Thunder Rift.
Yeah,
where it's basically her character is like, oh, she's blonde and she's pretty and she's there for Grace and Death Carlisle to knock boots with. And I have to struggle in the fight to find a way of saying that cleanly. But
I mean, post that trilogy, she does get one because eventually Grayson can't lead the Legion anymore, so she takes over, and both of them meet quite sad deaths.
I know that actually. I'm glad you brought that up actually, because that was one of the things I was sort of building up to saying is that that's the thing about this setting is the characters are human. They do have human weaknesses. They do grow old. They do die. You do get character deaths that run the spectrum from being like tragic to upsetting to sometimes completely senseless.
Yeah, I mean, I've read books where there's been a character I've really enjoyed reading it, and suddenly they're just gone. And it's as much of a shock for me as it is for the character who was their friend in the book, because it's like, what do you mean they're dead? This is they can't be dead. They're a side character to the main lead. They're important. They can't die like that. It's like, well, no, people do die like that.
Sometimes you sort of like you lean back for the book. You think, what, Matt, really? Yeah. Like the one for me that always got me was Paul Masters. Like, didn't see that coming.
Yeah. But then you also have characters like Morgan Kell, who, as one, I think it's Starcore has been doing quite fun little reads on his Patreon and Facebook page. As he put it, Morgan Kell, the only thing that could kill him was death, was old age, was time, and even then people had to check.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the saying. The only thing that could kill him was death. That's
well, no, it's more again. He survived an improbably long time, and then you have Victor Sinadavian, who was into his hundreds when he died.
Putting it that way, though, that does kind of remind me of the kid we used to take the piss out of in school. Who his thing was, it was to do with the movie Predator, where we'd all done that thing of like. You know, like when you're kids in secondary school, you're watching. Like if you're a child of the '80s, you were absolutely watching films that you weren't supposed to.
Oh yeah.
And
I saw Robocop when I was 8.
oh my! The thing that sticks in my mind is this kid. Because the thing with kids is if they're too young to watch certain movies, they're probably too young to comprehend certain aspects of them. And this kid was not the brightest. He was not the brightest of the bunch, and that's putting things kindly. And like a load of us had seen Predator, and we were saying like, oh, the way Arnie kills the Predator at the end of the movie, it's great. And this kid was like, yeah, it's crazy how the Predator's only weakness is wood. And I was like, well,
What?
yeah, technically that's not wrong, because the piece of wood that kills him is half the size and weight of him, and it hits him at high speed. So
Yeah.
your weakness would be kind of wood in that context, but it's a bit like saying, curses, bullets, my one weakness.
Oh no, fast moving metal. Oh.
A penetrating injury.
Oh no, heat of the universe. My one weakness.
That's his punishment. How do you know my weakness was hot lead?
That was always a source of a great amusement to me.
Well, it just reminds me of the entire idea of the only way to kill a vampire is to put a stake through its heart and chop its head off. That would kill anything.
Yeah.
It does kind of remove any sort of element of doubt, though, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Any nuance to the murder, yeah.
It does kind of. It doesn't leave any room for like your superior saying to you, "I'm quite sure."
I'll chop his head off, mate. Very dead. No, are you sure he was a vampire? Didn't get back up, did he? Oh God.
Yeah.
I digress.
But, I mean, one of the things that I have enjoyed about the modern fiction, the stuff set in the current period, is you do have
Vampires.
You have like there are characters who technically could classify, but sadly not in reality. You have characters struggling with their legacy. So you have the descendants of famous mercenary units. And
yes, yeah.
So you have the Great Death Legion have returned under the great-grandchildren of Grayson and Laurie Carlyle. You've got the great-granddaughter of Morgan Kell has reformed the Kellhounds and taken up her role as Grand Duchess of Ark Royal and created a new coalition. You have all the different great houses are now led by fairly new leaders, actually. People we've been primed for them to be important for a couple of decades now for fiction, but they've not actually been the leaders of their houses, of their states, and now they are. And seeing them now having to rise to the occasion to become heads of state instead of military commanders is actually quite compelling. And at the same time, there's still space that you get new mercenary units, you get new characters come in. And I mean, I'm quite a fan of the Foxhounds. Is it the Fox Brigade books?
Okay.
No, Fox Patrol. Sorry, Fox Patrol.
Well, that kind of leads into one of the last questions I was going to ask, which was if you were going to try to get somebody into the world of MechWarrior and Battletech, what would be the thing that you guys would choose? You know, it doesn't have to be one book. It could be a collection of source books and novels and things. But what would you guys use to kind of get across what the universe is?
I think I would suggest people start with the fiction, and that might seem like a bewildering way to introduce yourself to the setting. But then, like, if you look at it, really, there are no obviously easy inroads in.
Well, I think it's one of the reasons why I've never got into it.
You can start anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, one good thing about the big box sets they've been doing, the starter set, Game of Combat, Clan Invasion, Mercenaries, Alpha Strike, the first Aces one, every one of them comes with a separate primer that has been it's now been updated to cover the Old Clan era, and that gives you kind of, it's only like 6-8 pages at most, but it gives you a brief rundown of every faction, the timeline, the setting. It's a real concise way of getting your head into space for web setting.
It's a little bit surface level though for my liking.
It is.
Something that I do think might be a better introduction for people who are sort of curious or know nothing and they want to jump in is maybe the Battletech Universe book.
Yeah, I mean it's a good book.
It's very good. There's a lot of information in that book about all the different disparate elements of Battletech as a franchise.
So you've got Universe. There's the two Legends books, which focus on specific characters rather than
Universe. I like
history.
particularly because it doesn't underserve or any one of those aspects. You do feel like you're getting a full meal.
It's the sort of book that honestly they couldn't really put it out before now. It needed to be released with this much stuff behind it.
I tell you what, that book, it might be worth mentioning. There is a slightly strange thing that goes on among Battletech fans when they discuss like the book output of Atlas Game Labs, where some people are very focused on rule books and some people are just buying everything. And you've got this little group of people who are like, well, the law books are just not worth having. And I'm like, are you high?
Peacock.
People have got to start somewhere. And I think those books like Universe and Legends are very good for basically laying out, okay, this is what the setting is. Yeah. The Legends book, I like, okay, these are the people you need to know who they are. They're quite comprehensive. I mean, I have noticed, as I've read those alongside reading the fiction, there are a few omissions that are kind of a little bit puzzling. But by and large, you've got everything you need there.
Yeah, and I mean, you got those books. I'd say if someone wants to have a dive, Sana is actually, I quite enjoy taking a dive on Sana from time to time.
Oh, online resources are great.
Yeah. I like I said before, those YouTube creators I mentioned, the BPL Text Talks Battletech are what kind of got me really revved up for the setting fully, or even just one of the video games. HBS Battletech, the 2018 game, is a really good introduction to the 30-25 era of Battletech.
I think the video games are a good way to get a very quick read on the setting. Something I will say is that in the planning to bring MechWarrior Destiny to Doom Colonist, I have got as far as like laying out a whole kind of scenario, what will hopefully be the first campaign for that. And that was quite a daunting thing to do when you have like a bit of knowledge of the setting and you're fully aware that you don't know it all. This is one of the things that I don't think people realise about things like actual play shows, like the one I'm running, is that if you do anything that's attached to a beloved long-running franchise, you kind of are in a position where you either stick to pre-published material where you can't really put a foot wrong, but then there is an aspect that some viewers are just not looking for that. Advice I was given about setting up an actual play show is that people want to see original homebrewed content. So to do that with like an acknowledged IP that has a lot of history connected to it, you really need to have stuff that you can refer to. You really need to have stuff that you can check into. You do cheat a little bit as well in that you paint in broad strokes. But there is a way of doing it in such a way that you don't let on how much of it you don't know. Yeah. And there comes a point where you have to acknowledge, well, I can't really get away with that anymore. There's certain knowledge I need to have about this storyline, this setting. I need to know who these characters are. I need to know what parts of what I'm doing are going to like stick out to fans and say, that's a plot hole, that wouldn't happen. So things like the Battletech Universe book and even like certain isolated novels have been very, very handy in sort of navigating all of that stuff.
Yeah. Have you looked at the Aces product?
I have not.
Scour and Sands, because that's the most recent thing that's come out in a major way. A lot of folks were really anticipating it because Aces is going to be a series of 4 box sets covering, in each one is based on around a different one of the Ilkhan source books. So the first one is based around the first one set in the former Jade Falcon and Clan Wolf occupation zones. And it's designed for Alpha Strike, but you can translate it across the Battletech. It takes a bit of work, but it is doable, and at bare minimum it provides a framework to work from. But it's a campaign system. And it comes in 2 parts. You have the Aces rulebook itself, which is based on, it's been created by the guys, do you remember for X-Wing, the old Heroes of the Astari cluster? Or the Inari cluster?
I don't know that, no.
It was a system that came out for X-Wing First Edition, fan-published. It added an AI system to the game. So it let players all play as a team against an AI opponent. It was very good for role players because it meant that you could play a campaign on the surface, and then everyone gets to their fighters and takes off and has to you play through a game of X-Wing fighting an AI opponent, basically. It's been refined over the years, and they've now applied a version of it to Battletech for races. And the campaign for this first box is called Scouring Sands, and it's
I was just reading about that.
yeah, because it's a ring-bound book, which I love that for a campaign book, frankly. And it kind of scales for as many players as want to take part, but you're all playing against an AI opponent, the Jade Falcons, and you play for a branching campaign system of several quite a few missions, in fairness.
That's cool.
And like I said, they're doing it for all the other source books of this era, which I think is great. And Aces has gone down really, really well with folks. I am quite impressed with what it is, to be fair.
Would you say that any part of that has, like, is there any aspect of that product that has like an RPG angled element to it?
I'd say so. I mean, you could quite easily do the RPG element where you're playing a mercenary unit. Okay, so you're playing for pilots, or you might have someone wants to play one of the techs or info war specialists. You might have to drive a truck or something, because there are vehicles in Battletech and Alpha Strike.
Wait,
the rules are there to use those.
Stop the Max, I want to drive a truck.
Yeah, I mean,
I got very cool in Battletech.
Yes, I love the fact that there are wet water navies in Battletech as well as space navies. That's great.
That's awesome.
I mean, I still have fun memories of Mech Warrior 4 Mercenaries, and one mission we had to fight off a freaking battleship. But yeah, it's fun. I think there is potential there, because you can play the RPG scenario, and then when you jump to mechs, go to an Alpha Strike mission or a Battletech mission.
That is that's kind of an interesting thing to talk about, where Battletech and Mech Warrior, it's the RPG treatment, because one of the problems I've run into, and it's one of the reasons why Mech Warrior Destiny hasn't appeared a lot sooner on Doom Colonist, is that Battletech as an RPG, it's one of those things where, like, as soon as someone mentions it to you, you think, great, awesome. But then when you think, like, what is the core of Battletech? What is the selling point of it?
Big mechs.
Yeah.
And more to the point, big robots fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. And the funny thing for me is that is actually a really key selling point.
Yeah.
But there's actually a lot in the setting that you can do proper James Bond style.
You can do so much. One of the things about Mech Warrior Destiny is that I was kind of surprised to learn early on that the current edition of Mech Warrior Destiny is not particularly highly regarded. When I've seen discussion of it online, there are quite a few people saying, like, this is a clunky rule set. This is so light. Just forget about this. Just go straight to a time of war.
Yeah,
like an idiot. What I did is I actually had a copy of Mech Warrior Destiny sent to me, I believe. And when it arrived, I was shocked at how thin it was. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, everything I've read about this online must be true. So immediately went and ordered a copy of A Time of War, which when it arrived was the size of a telephone directory. And I flipped through it, and my initial thought was like, oh my God, there is no way I can bring this to an actual play show. I will be learning this set of rules for 5 years. It is
in depth.
I would go as far as to say that, I mean, I'm fortunate to own an awful lot of rule books for different game systems. The thing about picking up a new rule book for me is that they are usually intimidating, because they're slabs of dead tree with words printed on them. And I'm at an age where that, when they contain information that has to be learned, that scares me. But like, usually you dig into the books, and after you've looked at them for an afternoon or like a couple of hours, you start to think, oh yeah, okay, I see how this makes sense.
Yeah.
You can navigate a rule book, and the layout of it will become more. It will make more sense to you. Yeah. Sometimes you look through a book and you think, oh, this is actually not that different to the rules that I spent a year learning this other thing. And then, like, I cracked open A Time of War and just flicked through a few pages and went, nope, and just put it back on the shelf. And, like,
it's funny to me that the reaction to Destiny is like that, because that was actually the criticism of Time Warfare. It was too crunchy. They wanted something more like MechWarrior, the MechWarrior RPG.
The crazy thing is, having spent time sitting down and going over the MechWarrior Destiny rulebook, I've had people say to me, literally, like, don't run that game on your show. It's crap. And I've said to people, why do you think it's crap? And they've said, it's too light. It's, it isn't what Battletech is about. And like, I sit down with the book and I read through it and I'm like, the hell are you talking about, man? This is totally what Battletech is. For a book that's as thin as it is, it's got a surprising amount of depth and crunch to it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on in that game mechanically. Where I would say it falls down, and where I think people are right to criticise it, is that the actual combat rules, as per MechWarrior Destiny, are not very easy to make head nor tail out of.
Now,
is that abstract?
Is that personal combat or mech combat?
It's both. It's both, because all that happens with combat regarding scale in MechWarrior Destiny is that the scale changes. You have basically the same rules for interpersonal combat as you do for mech scale combat. It is just that when you go to mech scale combat, there are a few more, there's a lot more to learn, because now you have to take into account things like overheating. You have to take into account things like tracking your weapon groups, which is simple. It's it's not as big a headache to learn as it is in any other Battletech system. But the whole thing has got this very kind of hand-wavy, kind of like, written on a Friday afternoon feel. Where
do you think it's a system where they kind of expect people not to actually use the mech combat from the book and just play Alpha Struggle Battletech?
It is explicitly suggested within MechWarrior Destiny, within the rule book, that you can do that. You can put MechWarrior Destiny to one side and use Alpha Strike. And I remember seeing that and going, no, I'm not doing that. And like, I should explain my position here. I looked at that and went, I'm not doing that, because there's an aspect of an actual play show, I think, where you have to provide what you're advertising.
Yeah.
I do see quite a few actual play shows where, and not to criticise people for doing this, they'll be playing a game, like they'll be playing, I don't know, they'll be playing Wild Sea, or even Wrath and Glory. I've seen groups do this, where like you advertise, right, tune in tonight, we're playing Wrath and Glory for a couple of hours. We're continuing our campaign. We're going to have adventures in the grimdark future of the 41st millennium in Warhammer 40,000. And like, that's what people go there for. And then like, you sit there and you watch it. And there's one particular party that did this. And if by some chance they should hear this podcast, I really hope this doesn't upset them, because like I'm totally supportive of them doing this. I was watching them, and then they got to a point in the campaign where the GM says, and now we're going to use a feature that we've borrowed from Blades in the Dark.
The flashback sequence.
It's the clocks, I think, is what they were using.
Okay.
And like, because the clocks are like they're a feature of the what do they call it? The
heists.
Is it Forged in the Dark, the system?
Yeah.
I was like,
I just want to quickly say though, Blades in the Dark, best RPG out there currently right now. It's incredible.
I have a copy on my shelf. I've never cracked it open.
Oh, it is amazing.
My copy is actually still in its shrink wrap.
You make my heart hurt.
Well, not for much longer, because like you're in with the Doom College crowd, and if I've got it on my shelf, I want to play it. So,
mate, you have no idea until you've experienced the joy of a little gang of orphans called the Cockblockers. You haven't lived.
Adam, can I tell you something that might make you do a little boy's wee in your pants, in a good way? I've recently found out there's a Ghost in the Shell TTRPG.
There is.
Yeah, there's two,
which is using the Blades in the Dark rule set.
I am aware. And do you know what you could do with that? Do you know what would be really good to do with that? Reskin it to a Cyberpunk 808 game.
Well, I'm not opposed to that idea.
I was thinking Appleseed, but yeah.
No, Cyberpunk 808.
Do you know, Appleseed surprised me that they haven't have gone there first.
Appleseed frustrates me because it's had to date 5 adaptations and none of them have really clicked with people. And I think, and I'm pretty sure I can spot why, because none of them have the goofiness that counterbalances all the dry seriousness of the manga.
I think that applies to everything that's been adapted of Shiro's work, except maybe Dominion.
I was going to say,
Dominion, if you strip out the humour, it gets weird real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And not in a good way, but the humour kind of fails itself.
Are you talking about there's nothing wrong with the Arakitakagi?
The ultimate deterrent.
They are the ultimate deterrent.
Hey, remember the old routine? I think I've just made a few people feel hot and sweaty in an uncomfortable way there.
The best line from the entirety of Dominion Tank Police is Britain's, "Hey, Chief, if I die, I'm coming back to haunt you."
You know, any bit of
As he
Dominion Tank Police trivia?
shoots a truck.
Any bit of Dominion Tank Police trivia? You know, new Dominion Tank Police?
Yep.
Right. There's a real nothing throwaway scene in that where I forget the name of the character, but it's the guy with the spectacles, the police officer with the spectacles. He goes and he goes and interviews somebody, and they have an exchange where. Actually, I'm saying this now. I'm not sure it is in New Dominion Tank Police. It might be in the old OVA. But he interviews somebody, and the guy gives his explanation of something, and he ends it by saying, so blah 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 blah. And this happened. You dig? And the spectacle guy says, "I dig." And that has actually become a regular facet of conversation, like an in-joke between me and my father. And I'm damn sure my dad doesn't know where it comes from.
It's when he's talking to Baku in the OVA, isn't it?
I think it is now that you said that. Yeah.
You dig? I dig. Yes.
I've actually forgotten the original point I was making now.
But the Ghost in the Shell's getting a TT RPG.
Oh, we were talking about combat rules in MechWarrior Destiny, weren't we?
Yeah.
And that thing of providing what you say you're going to do. This is the thing that sort of sticks in my craw a little bit. I mentioned that particular gaming channel. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to cast them in a negative light at all. Their content is great. They put a ton of work into everything that they do. They're really fun to watch. That thing of bringing in rules from another system, I think is if a GM wants to do that, fine.
Yeah.
Personally, I think as somebody who spends a lot of time thinking about how my show's going to be presented, that's not something I want to do. I'm not really up for running MechWarrior Destiny and then saying, right, and now we put this away and we get out this box set for this other game.
Yeah, well, it's what do you want to do with your show? Are you going to have it as a showcase of the rule set as presented, or are you trying to create something that isn't that is a more, amorphous, mutable, jazz freeform style of play? It's both are completely legit ways of doing it, but there has to be a clear distinction between the two.
There's no such thing as wrong fun. That's something
I don't know, fake people.
Well, I mean, there may be wrong people, but no, there's no such thing as wrong fun. I don't think there's. I think it's silly to say this is the right way to do this thing and this is the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, but I understand where you're coming from completely. That if you put out a whole new rule set, it could be especially if you're doing it with a group and it's kind of agreed to, sure, but it could be a turn off.
It's a question, I think, of what services the needs at the time.
Yeah. I mean, just as an alternative example, one of the channels I watch is Critical Rocket, and they've had and it's been running for years now. They on a Friday, one of the games they will do is a tabletop simulator, or Tabletech as they termed it.
Oh, cool!
Battletech campaign, and it's basically Rocket GMing as the opposing force for each mission, and the rest of the group are role playing as the pilots of each individual mech. So, and they're staying in character and they're role playing it as this mercenary unit. And I think because it's Tabletech, so it's not a case of they're playing a completely different game, so to speak. So they're not having to clear the table and do that. They're doing it as part of the ongoing thing. It just flows a bit better as well because they're not tabletop battle reports are always a tricky one to do right, and I don't really like watching role-play channels where they switch like that. But for something to do it, if it was to go to like a tabletop simulator instead, if people aren't in person. I think mentally my brain could get behind it a bit better, but I do understand where you're coming from about not wanting to bring in a whole new game system because you want to showcase for what you're actually playing rather than.
I mean, it's a tricky thing to judge, like for me, because my approach to these things is sort of there are a few different threads to it. The first thing I'm always thinking is, first of all, the main goal with Doom Colonist is just to make sure that we produce stuff that's fun to watch, and that's a thing. Like, there's so much of that feels like it's out of your control. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been very, very lucky to consistently have great groups of players on the show. I mean, as we're recording this, I think I'm in the process of putting out the Gramtech incident, which Adam plays in. And I know I've got gold there because I've been editing that thing for months. And sometimes the antics of the guys on the show, like Adam Dudley and Decayed Andy, I am crying with laughter while I'm trying to get the thing edited. So I kind of think, like, I'm quite hard to impress that way. So I think if I'm chuffing at it, other people have got to find it entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, as we all know, my way of creating a character is to create something incredibly stupid and then play it as serious as the grave.
So saith Didymus Puddleduck.
Yeah. I don't think the universe is quite ready yet for Didymus Puddleduck.
One of the things I think people who consume actual play content may not realise is that some specific games, do not lend themselves remotely well to that format of playing.
No,
that's true, yeah.
And sometimes there have been things that I've looked at. There have been games that I've found out about online. I've looked into them. I thought, well, clearly this looks amazing. This looks like an obvious choice. And there are two problems that I keep running into. One is that you've got to sell the game to the players. I don't mind telling you, and this is no slam on anybody who's in the Doom Colonist server, any of the people who've participated and played on the show. 90% of the things that I will dangle in front of people get no reaction. It's just like, hey, look, I found this cool thing. And it's like, all right. So there's that, which makes it really difficult to judge what you're going to sort of plough the next chunk of productive time into designing stuff for. And then sometimes you get hold of a game that looks really cool, and you start flipping through the rulebook, and you think, this is going to be an absolute aster to bring to stream. And unfortunately, MechWarrior Destiny feels like one of those games. We will do it. We will not do it until I'm satisfied that we can do it properly. That is to say, we can make it entertaining and fun for all of us to play. But it is going to be hard. And the most frustrating thing about that for me is I've got it down to the point where I know which portions of it I'm struggling with to work out how it's going to work on stream. But I've spent all this time designing all this stuff for the stream in advance before I've got to that point where I've thought, oh, it's got overlays, it's got music, I've got pages and pages and pages of scenario design. And there's just a couple of points where I'm thinking, like, I just don't know quite how I'm going to make this work. And I think the answer to that will probably be like, I'll just turf it over to the players when we get to those parts that mechanically are giving me a bit of confusion at the moment. And I imagine they will just do the thing as if it was second nature anyway, because that's what tends to happen.
I was going to say, I mean, the problem is you're going to put this time into it, and then what'll happen is you'll get one of your characters is going to be completely out of service for the entire episode. So there was no point in coming up with all of that.
Oh, it's like things like that are just part and parcel of it.
Yeah.
An interesting thing about MechWarrior Destiny that marks it as distinct from A Time of War is that A Time of War is basically D&D with occasional massive robot fights. And we have tables and stats for everything. MechWarrior Destiny is literally like, you read the section on how to play the game, it says, you play the game by just having a chat with your friends. And the central game mechanic, as intended, we will, by necessity, we will have to play an adapted version of this. But the core mechanic is the GM does an opening oration, sets a scene, and then hands the mic, as it were, to the next player, who then narrates their own continuation of that scene. And then they hand the mic to the next player.
That's cool.
It is cool.
That's fun.
It is cool. But the thing is, I read that and I thought, that's great. Then I thought, oh, hang on a minute. That's great if you've got a table with people sat around it and snacks and you're in the same room and you can all riff off each other. When you're doing this online and you've got like... when you've got players who like they need to be in bed by 10 o'clock, you know, or you've got 2 hours or 3 hours maybe to record something in, and you've got to package it as a show, which means that you have to make sure that the content is satisfying and you have to end on a cliffhanger. You look at it and you think, how the hell am I going to make this?
Yeah.
So there is an option to play the game with a structure that's more akin to a traditional RPG, which is what we will end up doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the challenge there is, how do you fold in the elements that make the game unique? And how do you do it in such a way that you haven't completely bent the game into a shape that it just isn't meant to be in? That is the big challenge with it. What I would say is the game's greatest strength, though, is that it does have that freeform nature to it. If you look through the book, like it feels like, I think there's something like 20 pages of suggested character builds, and they're great because if you sort of look at it from a distance and think a tabletop role-playing game about giant robots fighting, how nuanced could that possibly be? You can play games of MechWarrior Destiny with no mechs. You can be anyone in the Battletech universe in this game, and the great thing about it is, and this is what I think people who criticise the game fail to understand, when you read through the rulebook, some TTRPG rulebooks read as like codexes of hard, fast rules, and you read through them feeling like you need a diploma in that game before you run it in any context. MechWarrior Destiny reads very much as like, so you've got this idea for a campaign, and like, so your party wants to do this thing in the Battletech universe. Here are some suggestions for how you would do that. And if this doesn't work for you, here are some alternate ideas. And if this thing doesn't work, then don't do that, but do this instead. Most rulebooks will have a section in them somewhere which says, if part of this doesn't work, don't use it.
Yeah.
MechWarrior Destiny really feels like it's freeform in the true sense, where to run it, you've got to put a bit of work in. But you know that work is going to be worthwhile because you can tailor it to build not necessarily the exact story that you want, because so much of that is left to the players. It's a very open-ended system with the intent of being collaborative, but you can certainly build the scenario that you want.
Absolutely. And it also helps that the way they've kind of finessed the era system now, so it's much clearer where you can pick a date and then work out what era you're in. And that just gives you so many tools narratively to play with, because they've really gone in and said, right, this is Age of War, this is the Star League, this is the first, second, third, fourth Succession Wars, this is Clan Invasion, this is Fed Comps War, this is the Jihad, this is Dark Age, this is the Ilkhan. And there's so many just juicy nuggets in each of those to play with, both from
it's
the technology available.
Fertile ground.
The technology, the factions, the major players, and even the minor players, because one of the joys for me I love the technical readout series for Battletech. Each one of those, every single mech or vehicle that you're reading about will give you a list, at least one or two pilots at the end of the vehicle description. And they're just like a paragraph or two, and normally they are just a joy to read through. Because they could be the most serious character in the universe. They could be a complete weirdo. Someone who has no business being in a military and yet somehow has attained high rank, or they could be the charger pilot who considers McLucky and died trying to do a death from above onto a...
I forget what it was that I read, and I don't even know that it was in one of the technical readouts. I only own one of the technical readout style books, which is It's so recent. It's not even marketed as a technical readout. It's one of the recognition guides.
Yeah.
It's the recognition guides classics. And I'm not even sure that I read it in there, but there was one pilot bio that I read, which was very entertaining, where it was just like, this guy never wanted to end up piloting a Locust, but he ended up piloting a Locust because that was all that was available. And the people that he worked for didn't like him, so they put him in a Locust because they know that the Locust is a one-hit wonder, meaning one hit and you wonder where it went. and this guy knew exactly what the deal was. He knew they had put him in this bipedal chicken leg mech, which was basically just a tin can with a cannon strapped to it, because he knew that people wanted him to die. And he just said, you know what? Life has given me lemons, or in this case, a Locust, so I'm going to use it. And he stomps off into battle, becomes highly proficient in the use of this Locust, becomes one of the ace Locust pilots in the universe, takes down 100-ton mechs with his Locust, and then eventually gets stamped on and dies. And you think, is that it? And because the universe is what it is, yes, that's it.
Of course, this is also how the setting where you have things like the Black Marauder.
Oh, yes.
The Black Marauder is literally a haunted, possessed battle mech.
Yep. The cosmic horror angle of Battletech.
No one knows where it came from. No one knows who made it. No one knows where it is now. It is just this myth, this horror story. And, I mean, Battletech is full of weird bits of... It can go real horror at times.
That is so cool. It's so cool. You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the whole aspect of that kind of cosmic weirdness, like, that was something that when I started designing scenarios for MechWarrior Destiny, that was the kind of thing where I was thinking, well, what kind of stories are we going to tell? Because, like, I personally think that straight up military stories are boring, personally. That's not the kind of thing that I want to do on the show, because it's not the kind of thing that I would give my time to myself.
Yeah.
So I start thinking, what are the ways to tell interesting stories in Battletech? And because all that kind of cosmic horror stuff is my jam, that's immediately where I start thinking. And like I did, unfortunately, one of the guys who is signed up to play in the first Destiny campaign, he's much better versed in Battletech than, well, probably than you or I. And I did sort of say to him, look, I've got these really rough ideas, the directions that it could go in, and like, you guys will take care of like the unfolding of the story, but is it safe to even go here? And his response was basically, all right, first thing you need to understand about Battletech, it's a setting where everything that happens for a reason. That said, absolutely you can do that. He says there's loads of weird shit. And like, if you poke around on Sana.net, there is some proper weirdness.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Sana is a fan wiki for Battletech. But as a resource, because the guys who run it are they're fans in the pure sense, but they have got the good and the bad in equal measure on there. I mean, they run a regular article called Bad Mechs. And I mean, there's more than one mech they've gone through. By the time I finish reading it, it's like, I want a few of those for my force. Can I find the file for it? Reading one of them, I managed to convince someone I'm following Patreon, but I back. He was asking people for recommendations. I said, what about the Rook? And he was like, that's a damn good idea. I'll do the Rook. I've got a file of like 6 different sculpts for the damn thing now. It's like, yes.
Sometimes, like, looking around on Sana.net is dangerous, because you go down such rabbit holes. I got really into the idea of the Spirit Walker mech. You know that one?
I think I do. Hang on. Let me bring up Sana a second.
I'm saying that. I'm not sure I've remembered the name correctly.
Is it bad for... I don't just have to type in Sana, it takes me straight to the web page?
No. Seems like a safe and secure way to browse the internet to me.
Yes. The Spirit Walker. That's a Black Knight.
Exactly. Right. This is one of the really cool things about... This is one of the really cool things about Battletech. But I don't think we actually established this when we were talking about the different eras of the setting, but the Succession Wars and the Clan invasion seem to be like the big ones that people focus on. Although we've had stuff that's come along since, even come up to the present day with like the Ill Clan era. I don't think those eras of the game are anywhere near as identifiable and iconic as those two. And one of the big things about the clan invasion in the fiction is that the clans show up and their mechs are so much more advanced than anything that the Unisphere has got. It knocks everyone for six. They just can't process how the mechs are this effective. But then you also find that the clans are actually using old style mechs as well. And at one point in the timeline of the lore, the clans are using whatever they can get their hands on. And you get details like the Spirit Stalker, which is a Black Knight, which is an Innisphere mech. And I believe the Black Knight is supposed to be one of the older in universe.
The Black Knight is one of the older kind of apex battle mechs. One where it was built, and that was kind of like it became like the poster boy for what could be.
Yeah.
And people have tried to chase it ever since.
And I believe it has some kind of in-universe significance to the clans as well. Like there's some, I think, if I remember rightly, there's some tie to Kerensky.
Kerensky piloted an Orion. His main general and his son.
I don't think the tie is to Kerensky directly, but to.
I know it was a very popular mech in the Star League Defense Force as a command mech.
That's probably what I'm thinking.
It was like the premier Star League Defense Force command mech because of it. It was a purely laser battle mech, but it had all the bells and whistles. It had advanced communication systems. The Royal version had double heat sinks and all that, so it could manage its heat really well. And it was like the Ferrari of battle mechs, you know.
I just think it's cool because it's got an Optimus Prime faceplate and a bloody great Megatron cannon on its arm.
it has that as well.
It did that before Skybound Comics did.
and then the Comstar did a version that has a giant sword on it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's a fairly decent place now to start winding this down.
Probably yes,
but
because we could be here for a very long time on this.
There's so much to talk about.
Well, maybe we'll come back to it at some point and have you guys talk more about Battletech, as I'm just constantly trying to keep up going through the Sana website. So the last question I've got is, what is your favourite mech and why is it the King Crab?
I mean, the King Crab's wonderful, but it's not a Highlander.
No, King Crab wins. King Crab is the best. It's so cute.
I have become partial to a Berserker as well, because 100-ton battle mech with a giant axe. Yes, please.
Mine's the Locust.
I mean, that is really cute.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Yeah, I mean, the Highlander's decent, but it's no King Crab.
Yeah, I mean, the regular crab is just perfect medium mech, because you can... I've tried to kill one of those in the Arctic video game and they don't die. they're just zombie mechs to a T, because all energy, basic engines, you have to just delete it to make it go away. King crabs are just
adorable.
Horrible.
They're adorable. Adorable. So, with all that being said, then we'll start to get out of here. HDE, do you want to go first? Do you want to pimp yourself out? Where can people find you if they so wish to hunt you down and discover more about your whereabouts?
Where can people find me? You can find me over on Blue Sky under the Doomed Colonist Blue Sky account. If tabletop role playing is your kind of thing and you appreciate supporting people, if you feel so inclined to support people who put an astronomical amount of man hours into their online projects, by all means, please come and check out Doomed Colonist over on Twitch or over on YouTube, where eventually everything we record gets posted in its entirety. We are fairly small at this stage, but people seem to be digging what we're doing, and if people feel inclined to come along and watch our stuff, whack the like button, come and follow us over on Twitch, all that kind of stuff, send us their firstborn, pop a 6-pack of beers in the post to us, any of that stuff, it's all very gratefully received. We are really focused mainly on trying to entertain people first and foremost, and so we would like you, dear listener, to be one of the people that we reach.
Mr. David, where can people find you, you sexy fox?
Oh, I am all over the internet as David Kelly, because I don't try and hide myself. Anyone wants to steal my identity, bring it. I'm an occasional contributor to UKAnime.net, where I tend to post things mech-related. Quel surprise. With yourself, we do the deeper dives for Fluffenhammer Patreon.
Yep.
Where we find a subject and we generally stay on point, more or less, ish.
No.
And no.
That's
yeah,
not how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And then with Mr. Adam White, we do Flufferbusters, where we can watch a film and waffle away to create a commentary. They've been great fun so far. Most recently, we managed to snare Mr. George into our trap and got him to talk about Dark City for a couple of hours, which was fabulous. So, we get...
And I've given you my list.
Yes. My list of films we have to do stuff with it's gaining tabs at a rate.
Yeah.
But it's a fun experiment. We've got a separate YouTube channel to Fluffenhammer, but we do that. And I also run the monthly watch along on the Discord.
Yeah.
Coming up to Easter, so there's going to be a marathon session there, but it's every Saturday otherwise. First Saturday of the month, I should say. 2 films rolled at random.
Don't do that to yourself. Don't make it every Saturday.
No. I'm not going to do it every Saturday because even I'm not insane. But yeah, it's always fun because the list is ever changing and full of whatever catches my fancy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Right then. So we are going to get out of here. Thank you to both HD and David for joining me and teaching me all about the inner workings of MechWarrior and Battletech. And thank you guys at home for listening, if indeed you still are. Good night, all.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Even
Later,
if
folks.
Adam didn't call me a sexy fox.
No, you're a sexy badger, you are.
Sex badger.